the Olivier's, the second time I was nominated, my mother had said, well, if you don't get it, I'm not going to the party.
There are some people that are in the musical theatre industry and world who I have known about, been a fan of, or been slightly obsessed with or completely in love with for most of my life. I'm sure I'm not the only person in the room that feels that way. My first guest this evening is most definitely one of those performers. When I was a child, living in a small village in South Wales, I had a VHS of the Les Miserables 10th anniversary concert. And I only used to watch certain bits. I'd watch I Dreamed a Dream, Castle on a Cloud, On My Own, and the finale. That's what I used to watch. And then I'd rewind them, and I'd fast forward, and I'd watch them again and again. And so I know this performance inside and out. Never in a million years did I think I would be able to sit with one of the most prolific performers on the planet who was on that very VHS, which I think we recorded off the telly. We're going to go well into her life, career, and very, very impressive CV. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Ruthie Henshall! Now, Ruthie Henshall, I'm just going to start by reading you this here CV. A chorus line, Cats, Bernadette, Miss Saigon, Children of Eden, Henry VIII, The Sisterhood, Valentine's Day, Follow the Star, Les Mis, Godspell, Crazy for You, She Loves Me, Annie, Miss Saigon, Les Mis again, Crazy for You again, Oliver, Divorce Me Darling, Chicago. Hold that thought. Ziegfeld, Follies, Chicago, again. Putting It Together, The Vagina Monologues, Miss Saigon, again. Peggy Sue Got Married, The Vagina Monologues, again. Again. Wow. How many monologues are there? How many vaginas are there? Come to that. The Boy from Oz, Chicago, again. Fosse. The Woman in White, The Other Woman, Stairway to Paradise, Marguerite, Chicago, again. Blithe Spirit, Side by Sondheim. That was a mouthful. Guys and Dolls, Billy Elliot, Chicago again. Children of Eden, Passion, 42nd Street. I mean, I think I deserve some sort of Olivier Award for being able to read that list. Let alone, I mean, that's incredible. Did you ever think when you started out in this industry that one day you would be sat in this wonderful establishment with little old me and you could... it's just endless.
Do you know, I absolutely, as a youngster, believed that I was going to go where I was going to go.
Yeah.
I was absolutely determined. Apparently, I said to somebody in Cameron's office when they offered for me to stay in Cats for a little bit longer, and apparently I said, oh no, I can't stay, I'm going to be a star. I've got to keep moving. 19 years old. So I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I wouldn't be happy in the chorus. And so I made a decision when I was in Miss Saigon and I was understudying, and I decided I'm never going to understudy again. If I can't play the lead, then I don't want to do this.
Right.
And then they gave me Ellen. And it's amazing what just changing your mindset does. You know, there's something that you give out, which is, I'm not in this for that anymore.
But I think one of the only agencies that we have over ourselves is the fact that we can say no occasionally.
Oh my goodness, but nobody does in our business. Very rarely does anyone say no, because it's feast or famine. Mm-hmm. And we're all scared to say no. But there has to be some sense of worth in you that, you know, for me, there has to be 2 of 3 things that are right about a job. It has to be, you have to adore the script, the money has to be right, and the amount of time. And if only one of those things is right, you won't be happy.
I like that tick list. I like that very much. That's a good way of deciding whether or not to do something. So, and it's actually really important, this early on life lesson from Ruthie Henshall within the first minute of her being on the stage. Are you even remotely surprised? Having that belief in yourself and being able to say, no, if I can't do it this way, I don't want to do it. That's not arrogance, folks. That's self-belief. And I completely... Where do you think that came from for you? Did your parents sort of instill that in you?
Yes, I think part of it came from the fact that I mean, it wasn't a white picket fence upbringing at all. So there was the fighter in me definitely came out, and wanting to be somebody and succeed. And the other part was, I think, my mother was a frustrated performer, and I did want to make her happy, partly. Let me tell you, at the Olivier's, the second time I was nominated, the first time...
Second of 5, by the way, just to drop that out there.
Sorry.
No, take it. Please never apologise for that. My goodness me.
I was sat with my mother and father, and it was For She Loves Me. And before we'd gone in, my mother had said, well, if you don't get it, I'm not going to the party. And my father had written me a letter beforehand and said, darling, it really doesn't matter. I will wrestle the gun out of your mother's hands. and I remember this. And all I can remember about getting that award is hearing my mother going, she got it. I was so relieved.
Did she also say, I can go to the party?
Yeah, it was
the party.
And the fact that you think, did they really say my name? I was going so fast up the aisle that I nearly lost my shoe, because there's a sense of, let me just, is this true, or are they going to say, sorry, got it wrong? She desperately wanted to be a performer, but she grew up in the war and came from a very, very poor family. And, sort of Kellogg's cornflake packets cut up in the soles of their shoes, that kind of thing, and going to the chip shop for scraps for a half penny at the end of the night, but she was always very ashamed of that, and she educated herself and married into the middle class, and then educated herself as a teacher. And every so often you would hear this Suffolk accent come out when she'd had a few. and you take the mickey out of her, and she'd say, don't. And it was always, pick up the phone, 4250. So I definitely think there was a part of me that wanted to make her happy, because she was very charismatic, but she was very complicated.
A lot of people who lived through that upbringing in the war very much were, weren't they? And the shame that came with that definitely is a generational thing.
Can you imagine
I really
how
can't.
Scary it would be? It makes you think about what's going on in the world. How scary it would be that you are sleeping in your bed and then you hear alarms. You've got to get out of bed. You've got to go down into the shelter. You don't know whether your house is going to be there. You don't know whether anybody you know or love is going to come home from war, or something happen. And I think about my mother and father and that side of things, and I think I can't imagine how screwed up they must have been from that, even though it was kind of became normal, and that nobody really talked about that, and how, our parents didn't go for therapy. There wasn't
God forbid.
God forbid. Mm-hmm. And you don't tell the neighbours when there's something, you lie.
Yeah. Keep up appearances.
Yes.
Well, she was a teacher, wasn't she, your mum?
She was. She was a drama teacher, film and television, and an English teacher. And as a result, part of her curriculum was the MGM musicals.
Oh, wow.
And we were one of the first families, I think, to have a VCR player. And it was one of those ones, I don't know if anybody, you're all too young, I'm sure, but you had to press play and record at the same time, and you had to give it heft to actually get the thing to stay down.
Absolutely.
But I watched all of those films and I thought, this is it.
That's what I want to do.
That's what I want to do.
So you grew up in a household that had music in it and had creativity and spark, but it was kept within the walls for your mum. And your dad was a journalist?
My dad was a journalist. He was an old Fleet Street journalist.
Oh, wow.
So I used to go and watch the Lord Mayor's show out of his window on Fleet Street when all the newspapers were on Fleet Street. And he's one of the journalists that I totally admired. I loved my dad with all my heart. He was an amazing man, not perfect, but an amazing man. And he was the kind of journalist, I remember him saying when I was, it's out there now anyway, when I was dating Prince Edward, he said, I'm sitting on one of the hottest stories of my career and I can't say a word.
Oh, bless him.
But
that
he
must have been so hard for him. The loyalty or the money. What do I do?
But he said, after he died, somebody who'd worked with him said, I will never forget your father saying, if you can't say it to their face in the bar after work, you shouldn't be putting it down in black and white. And he was absolutely like that. And I think that's a brilliant way to be. If you can't say it to somebody's face, and, you know, you shouldn't be putting half of the stuff down in black and white that we do.
The same as social media
nuts.
now.
Oh, it's gone.
It should exist on social media, shouldn't it? Most definitely. If you can't say it to somebody's face at stage door, don't tweet it about me, okay? I mean, anyone.
That's right. People don't understand how hurtful it can be, and I don't look at all.
No, I saw this. You were talking about. In prep for today, I've been looking at some really lovely old interviews of you from sort of when you were coming out into the industry and you do the morning TV shows or the chat shows, and some of them I didn't know. I didn't know the presenters, and because it just doesn't exist, that sort of genre of TV.
Yes,
we've got like one or two of them, but they used to be, you know, they'd be on all the time. And I saw a really lovely clip of you on what was it? Was it a Paul O'Grady show, perhaps?
Oh, it could have been, yes,
yes. Where he was saying, you know, you're getting critted very well. And I was like, what does he mean, critted? And he meant critiqued, like reviewed. It's just a phrase I hadn't heard before. And you very quickly went, oh, I don't look at them. Apart from the good ones that they put on the front of theatres, then you just have to walk past them and see them. I loved that.
Well, I think, I can't remember who I heard say it, but if you believe the bad ones, you've got to believe the good ones, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And I don't want, what matters when I've opened a show is the audience and what the directors said and what the choreographers said and the company. Most importantly for me, it's the company. Mm-hmm. And if I start worrying about what people think, it sort of starts eating away.
Well, you pour your heart and soul into these roles, don't you? And every performance you go out and you give everything. And if you then, somebody comes into a theatre for sometimes half a show, they'll watch the first half and they'll go out and they'll write something truly scathing.
Yes.
And they know nothing about what it means to you. And of course that eats away at you. That speaks volumes about who you are as a person.
Well, we've all got imposter syndrome in this business, and
yeah, not me.
Not you. Well, I didn't have when I was younger.
I do.
You do
about this now. What I just said. Oh God. So yeah, let's go back to sort of those early days when you always knew you wanted to do it. You knew exactly what way you wanted to do it. How did you make it happen? You went to Lane.
I went to Lane Theatre Arts and I stayed there for 3 years, and I did 2 years on the dancers course, and then they brought in the musical theatre course on my 3rd year. So then I sort of hopped over to that.
So when you were starting out and you went to Lane's, would you have said, yes, I'm a dancer? Or would you have said, I'm all three and I'm just going to do this course as a dancer?
I think I knew that Lane Theatre Arts was more all-round because musical theatre colleges really weren't such a thing then. My first love was always dancing. And then I found I had this voice and it just kept developing. And I ran with it. And I remember my audition for Lane Theatre Arts. I was never loose. And we were doing the ballet, and I was doing that bar, and she lifted my leg up to see how loose I was, and my underneath leg came up to meet it. It's kind of like, But then I sang, and she saw something. All of my classmates we're all on a WhatsApp group, and we meet up once a year at a friend's house, all of us.
That's amazing. How many of those people work in the industry or sort of around it, out of interest?
Lots of them do fitness.
Right.
I'm the only one left in the business.
Right, okay.
A lot of them went into teaching and, or fitness or that kind of thing, but they all look done. They've always got their makeup. They've always got, they're always dressed nicely, because Betty Lane,
I was going to say, that woman, she knows what she's doing, man.
Honestly, if you didn't come with your full makeup on every single day, she would send you up to the dressing room to put it on. And if you were in something shabby, up to the dressing room, put something decent on. She said, you've always got to make sure that you look good. But she had this thing, which today would never be allowed.
There's so many things that would never be allowed that used to happen at theatre schools.
She used to hang up potatoes outside her office, and if your name was on it, it meant you needed to lose weight.
This is the thing, right? The industry is sort of like steeped in these stories, and we giggle about them and laugh about them, but
do you know what? I know, but I'm kind of on the fence, because I'll tell you why.
Well, you were clearly never on a potato.
I was on a potato. I had a pair of thighs like, I don't know, a boat at one point. But I think there's got to be a meeting in the middle soon between being able to look after people in this business and, attend to, not just my business, but I'm talking about my business, mental health and all the things that go on. But there's also got to be the other side as well, which is it's tough. It's a tough business. You've got to grow a pair.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's find a middle ground for... there was one thing I was always taught, and it sounds so cheesy and naff, but I'm sure you've heard it. We call it Dr. Theatre, which is that, and for me, this is what it is. You might feel like crap, but if I go in and do the show feeling like crap, I'm not talking about being absolutely, ill, just whatever. I feel different after that 2.5 hours, because it's 2.5 hours where I don't have to think about anything. So if something's going on in my life that is difficult, you want to duvet dive. But the best thing to do for me is, and they used to call it Dr. Theatre, come in, Dr. Theatre.
Get out there.
Yes, because act as if, and it will help.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for that. It varies show to show, I will say. It's easier to go in feeling like in Les Mis than it is in Legally Blonde, for example.
And go and be funny.
The mountain doesn't look quite so high. Well, particularly if you're playing Fantine, because, you die quite quickly. So
that's quite nice, yeah.
Oh, it's the best.
Yes, you're right.
It's the best. I love playing that role, so I keep going back.
Yes, well, there are some shows, aren't there? I call Chicago the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, let's talk about Chicago. So when did Chicago sort of first come across your desk?
I was asked to go in for it, and I was on tour doing my own show, and I knew that Anne Reinking was playing it on Broadway, and I knew she was 48 years old, and I was 28, and so I thought, I don't know why they're calling me in. And I'm obviously wrong for it, so I passed. And then they didn't find anybody, so they said, look, would she fly over to New York, see the show, and then meet with the creative team over there? And I thought, oh, lovely.
Free holiday.
Free holiday, nice weekend in New York, I'll go.
Gorgeous.
And I sat and watched the show, and I felt sick. because I wanted it so much.
So much. Oh, I love that.
Suddenly saw, and Chicago was one of the first shows I ever saw as a kid, in 1976, I think it was. And I remember the puppet number more than anything, and just bars, jail. But I was sick with the lack of effort I had given to it, the lack of going after it. It was like, oh my. So I went home afterwards. I hadn't even learnt the monologue. So I spent 5 hours that night, overnight, learning the monologue. And then I was put through my paces by Anne Reinking and Walter Bobby, the director. And when they phoned me to give me the news, I sobbed like a baby. Sobbed like a baby, because there are some roles that come along and it's like Crazy for You. Same thing happened to me there. I knew it was going to change my life on a guttural level. I couldn't tell you why, but I knew my life would never be the same, and I felt exactly like that about Chicago.
Do you think that could be a marryment of when you've read material or seen material and you know what you would want to do with it and the passion that comes with that, mixed with the fact that it's just actually really good material?
Yeah.
And you just think, if that goes my way, which it should, then it's going to change everything for me.
Yes. You know when something is you.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to work very much the way the Americans work, which, like we were up and running Chicago in England in 2 weeks. We were up and running it. Now, I love that. And I love it because once I've got it in my body and my brain, I can then start to play with it. And that's the bit I love.
Yeah.
Not knowing it quite yet and feeling a bit awkward about it, for me, is frustrating. And you will always find me on the 3rd week of rehearsals in the toilet sobbing.
Oh, me too. I swear to God, that's so weird. So I have this thing with a friend of mine who, both of us will do it for each other. I will call him and go, I've had that day. And he'll have to go, you're not crap. You know what you're doing. You're there for a reason. It will all come back tomorrow. And I'm going, no, they hate me. The director thinks I'm terrible. I couldn't even sing in tune. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a fraud. It's going to ruin my life. So weird. That is exactly us.
No, that is exactly the monologue I have with myself as well.
Oh, well, next time
this is the one I'm going to be. Yeah, I will actually. This is the one I'm going to be found out on. I can't do it. I'm crap. It's all over, and I think that's why we strive to be really the best, because we care that much that being okay is not okay.
Not good enough.
It's not good enough.
Yeah, love that. I love that. Sorry, I'm like so into this. I keep like asking you a question, then forgetting about it and moving 10 steps out of the way. I want to talk about Chicago. So you went, you watched the show, you fell to pieces, you went back to your hotel, you learnt the monologue. Do you remember what it was? Do you remember what piece you had?
It was the Roxie monologue.
Is that the... do you remember any of it? Give us a burst.
It's the... she's behind the newspaper.
Oh, yes.
You want to know something? I always wanted my name in the papers. And it was like, that's me!
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So then they brought the show. You learned it in a couple of weeks. You got it up and running. And how long did you play Roxie in that first iteration of it?
A year.
Okay.
I played it for a year, and then
Did that break your back? It's a big ask, isn't it, Roxie?
We called it the Chicago diet, though, because you could eat what you wanted and never put on a pound.
Yeah.
It was such physical hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided that I was going to go for my green card and I was going to go over to New York. And I happened to bump into the director at a party. And he said, oh, my God, you're here. We need a Velma. And I've always thought you had a Velma in you.
No way.
And I was like,
that's how that happened?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? You want me to play the other role?
So hang on, you did your own paperwork, you paid for it, you did all this stuff, and then you got on a flight and you went over there.
3
and you're like,
suitcases.
just arrived, track 17, go to a party.
Yeah.
And of all of the people in New York, you bump into someone who already knows what you can do.
Yep.
Because to all intents and purpose, it was a different world. It wasn't,
Wasn't
you get a
social
job
media.
here, it gets put online, and
This was 1998.
yeah. So you would start going over and giving it a go.
I couldn't wait. I was like, right, my next thing is, and this is what happens with me, and then I wanted children. My next thing is I'm going to have kids. And then my next thing is I went over there and I got to play opposite Anne Ranking. She was a Roxie to my Velma. And I just sat at the side of the stage. You talk about, icons and things like that and people that you've worshipped. Nobody danced like her. And I would sit like that watching the Roxie monologue.
Like you.
Yeah, that was just like, oh. Never went to my dressing room at that point.
Yeah.
So, and I've always thought that, you see, we had the Miss Saigons and we had the Phantom of the Operas, and the sets became the stars of the show. And suddenly Chicago came along, and, Velma is the chandelier and Roxie is the helicopter,
it's all stripped back.
It's all stripped back, and it's back to the people.
If you had to choose from that first time playing each, which do you think you preferred, was better for you? Who were
Roxie.
you at that point? Roxie always.
Because I did the 10th anniversary and they asked me to do the Roxie monologue. They were bringing in loads and loads of performers to do the 10th anniversary. And I knew that I had changed, and that's the gift that comes from doing a show over and over again through your life. Because I could tell I'd had children. I played Roxie at 28, and then I played her at 38 or 39. And the way I did the monologue was completely different. I made very different choices as an actress because I wasn't the same person.
Yeah.
I'd had children. My life had changed,
exponentially.
exponentially.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've got so many questions for you, and we have like 30 seconds left. Okay, and then ultimately you've been back again, and you played Mama Morton.
Yeah.
Has anyone else ever done that? All three?
The only person who's done it is Bebe Neuwirth in America.
Right,
But nobody here.
Wow.
I'm just greedy, sorry.
Absolutely not. It's so cool.
But they said, would you come and do Velma? And I went, are you kidding? I was 47, 48, and I just said, I've hung up my cartwheels, please don't. But I would like to do the third one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I loved it. It was so lovely, just coming on every so often, a few one-liners, smoking a fag and then going and sitting down again.
Brilliant.
It was lovely. I was like, I can get used to this.
Yeah, it's like Fontaine all over again.
Yes.
And so it was the 10th anniversary of Les Mis, wasn't it? That I'm picturing where you come out in that beautiful. Oh gosh, she was so beautiful. Just like utterly heartbreaking. I'm just going to tell you really quickly. Last weekend, just after I finished at Les Mis, I went to see Patti LuPone at the Coliseum, and she started. They did "I Dreamed a Dream," and as soon as the chords started, I just went to pieces. And I don't think I'd quite put together. And this sounds really stupid because I've been there 4 or 5 times now at Les Mis, but I don't think I'd quite put together what it actually meant to me. And I was sat there and I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about that video that I used to watch, and then I was thinking about her because she got a bit emotional when she was sort of the music started, and she went, oh, like it was a lot for her. And I just thought, oh my God. And now I'm going to sit down with you and talk to you about it. And it was just so cool. And I just wanted to tell you that in that moment where I was sat in a dark room crying, I was thinking about you. It's a bit weird.
I can't tell you how lovely that is.
Oh, God. Okay, well, let's jump forward. There's a couple of things that I can't not talk about. In prep for this evening, I was looking at these interviews of you from over the years. And you've got some great stories, man. Oh, my God. And we've just said, she said, not me, if I go tomorrow, it will have been a life well led. You've just grabbed it by the balls and swung it around, haven't you? It's been. I'm so
I do
impressed.
believe you can have anything you want if you want it enough, because suddenly your vision goes to whatever you want. And some of it has been out of fear. Some of it has been out of excitement. Some of it has been out of desperation. Some of it has been out of complete confidence. But it's getting there. And I love the people in musical theatre. I have had the most amazing ride so far. I love being part of a company. I don't believe in bad behaviour in a company. I will nip that in the bud if I see it or hear it, because you are a family. And for me, I never laugh more than when I am backstage. It just is a joy. And how the leading lady and leading man behave will filter through a company.
Fish rots from the head, babe.
There you go. So if you behave badly, you're giving everybody else permission to do the same.
Absolutely.
So you cannot. And like Chicago, oh God, I could go through them all. Happy companies.
Have you ever been in a company that you were not leading that was severely not that?
No.
That's amazing. I have.
Have you?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
I've noticed a couple of badly behaved people, but they got, there's always some fabulous queen in the company who will say, get over your cheap self.
Absolutely.
Or I'm on it. So
yeah.
So you've had
difficult... most definitely. I feel like sometimes you can be in a company, and especially if you join a company, there's not too much you can do anymore if there is a very sort of structured...
There's the blueprint
bad
already.
egg print.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes.
If it's in there, it's in there.
If it's a long runner and you come into it, then
Yeah, if the dead rats are already in the air vents, you can't... What are you going to do? Crawl through?
But
it's not worth it, babe.
But there are difficult people in every single walk of life.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And it is not tolerating it. It's and also sometimes just the loudest thing you can do is ignore.
Yeah.
It's just glorious when you just don't respond to somebody.
And if you can do it with a small smile as well. Great,
that's always good, yes.
The power.
Really?
The power. Well, I'm really happy for you that you feel so perturbed by that. So we've had 5 Olivier nominations. We've had 500,000 credits. You've been here, you've done Broadway, you've toured the world, you've been on the telly, you've dated the royal family. Like, honestly, there is not much that you haven't done. Also, you run a school, a 3-year formal training for musical theatre.
Yeah, triple threat training for the business of today. It's a degree course called RH Cast. Yeah.
What is there anything that you've sort of put into that whilst you've been putting the course together that is wildly different from what you experienced when you were training? Obviously, there's a gap in time there, and the industry has changed
completely.
But everything's completely different.
I think I am so glad I came into the business when I did. But we now train. We do the triple threat training. But also we give them a side hustle, and so that's something that can run alongside their training, because it's feast or famine, and we are self-employed, so you need something else to earn money when you're not working. Absolutely. And which means you don't have to go and answer telephones or waiter if you don't want to. They perform every single term with an audience.
I saw this. So you put shows on. Where is the school? You're at
Bury St Edmunds.
Bury St Edmunds, yeah. So once a term, everyone gets on stage in front of an audience.
Oh yeah, because in most colleges, number one, we only take 25. So because a lot of the big colleges now are taking 100 and 150 a year. Now you're just going to get lost.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
And they don't allow them to perform until their 3rd year.
Yeah.
And so we did a round table with a bunch of students who'd just come out of college and said, what did you like? What did you get? What did you not get? What did you need? And so we put this course together, and it is, very much based on a long career in musical theatre, because I don't think they're necessarily getting what they need in some places. There are some wonderful colleges, and I am not
No, we're
knocking
not here to
them.
bash, not at all.
Not bashing at
it's
all.
It's more asking what
But
you
But
want
you have to
do.
pick every single individual. Who are they? And what can we bring out in them? And we're in an age where, Cynthia Erivo can play Jesus Christ now. Mm-hmm. So you can be anybody and anything. So let's find out who you are.
Yeah.
And
let's nurture that.
Yes, let's nurture that. Let's not try and put you in a box. You're leading lady, you're leading man, and you're the best friend.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just not the way of the world anymore.
It isn't the way of the world.
We're seeing it. We just want it to be truthful. That's what we want. As an audience, that's what we want. We don't need to see perfection anymore.
No.
I don't know if we ever did. We were just sort of told that that's what we wanted, I think.
No.
I will just say this. There is nobody that I would rather receive training from with that in mind. You have been in this industry for your whole life so far.
Yeah.
And you've freaking smashed it. I was looking through that list, and look, I've not asked you any of the questions that I have in here, because I've just talked to you because you're an incredible human being, and I love being around you, and I love to listen to you, and I cannot begin to imagine how inspiring it is to be in a classroom with someone like you. And it's just an amazing thing that you've done. And so I'm, as a performer, so grateful that there's that opportunity there. And I try to do it. I love to teach, but
you are the next generation.
Well, I hope so.
And
I'd like to stick
are
around.
smashing it too.
Thanks, mate.
Let's be really honest. You are smashing
Thanks,
it.
mate. But I mean, come on. Like, it's been an unbelievable career. That's why I asked you. Is there anything still... Sorry, guys. Is there anything that is still sort of on that list that you're going, I wouldn't mind giving that a go?
Do you know...
Also, you're in Coronation Street. Oh, my God. Sorry. This is literally, you live my dream life. But carry on. Sorry.
The trouble is that Imelda keeps getting there first.
Oh, Imelda.
Who I love, by the way.
What's she like, eh?
Oh, she's a gorgeous woman. But I'm going to have to wait another 10 years to try and get things like you. Before I go, I'd like to have done Dolly or Gypsy, so something like that. One of these amazing, strong women who just own the stage.
I feel like a lot of them get written now. There's a lot of girls with gumption.
Yes, there are.
There really are.
And the person who used to write them so brilliantly was, of course, Sondheim.
Yeah.
He just knew how to write for the older woman. Mm-hmm. So we just need a bit more of that. I suggested the other day, who is going to write Cocoon, the musical? You see... None of them have heard of it.
No.
Cocoon, the musical. It's all old people.
Okay, a question that I ask all of our guests. The answer can be good, bad, or ugly. But is there one moment in your career that you would say was the most surreal?
Crazy for you, opening night.
Yeah?
Because you can never be discovered again. You know what I mean? You can reinvent yourself to a certain extent, but you can never be discovered again. And... I knew that Polly Baker was me. I was born to play that, that cowgirl in a pair of dungarees and, fall in love and put on a show and save the theatre. And it was the MGM musicals I'd grown up with. So when that opening night happened, and I remember my co-star and I, we walked down the stairs into the party and it was not Trafalgar Square, Leicester Square. We walked down the stairs and the whole party turned around and applauded us as we came down.
Oh, little Ruthie.
It was one of those moments of the kid in me when I don't know what to say. And there was a band, a dance band, and the ticket was a little dance card with a pencil on it, you know what I mean, to write down who you were going to have a dance with, you know. And I woke up the next day and I was on the front page of the Telegraph, you know, sort of hailed a star, and it was that in those days that was all you had, was the reviews and the, you know, the newspapers. And I remember thinking, I knew my life was going to change. I knew that in my soul, and nothing was ever the same again. It changed the trajectory of my career.
Do you have that Telegraph cover anywhere?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I really hope it's blown up to size 1 million and on the wall in your house, because you should
I don't have any showbiz stuff on my walls at all.
Can I have it?
I'll give you loads of stuff.
Oh
it's all in
so
boxes.
Serious. Can I have a sift through? Can I come over and have a bottle of wine?
Yes.
And sift through your box, and you can sift through mine.
All right. Now that is an offer I can't refuse.
And on that note, it genuinely has been a pleasure. I could sit here with you all night. Thank you so much for coming and doing this. We really will have to do part 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that will just be to talk about Coronation Street and the Royal Romance. Then we can talk about the rest of your career as well. I'm just continuously your biggest fan and such a huge fan of you as a human being. Thank you for giving us your time, and I'm sure you guys in the room will agree this is a once-in-a-lifetime sort of human being and talent, and we're so grateful for you coming. So thank you so much, Ruthie Henshall.
Lucie Jones doing a podcast, and it's just begun. Lucie Jones needed a theme tune, so I wrote a one, and it goes like this: off script with Lucie Jones.